Hi friends, welcome to Interactive Medicine. We can discuss about today the drugs related to renal system. So we are continuing our Crocono series. So kidney we have two parts, cortex and the medulla, and the structural unit of the kidney is nephron. So the important function of the main function of the kidney is the excretion of waste materials from the body. So the patient who have the accumulation of fluid in the body, and it is known as edema. So edema can be edema can be relieved by some drugs known as diuretics. So the fluid can be relieved from the body and excreted as urine with the help of kidney. So we prescribe some drugs, diuretics. So diuretic is many types, and which is acts on the different parts of the nephron. And we have the some drugs which is prevent the hypertension, and this is known as ACE inhibitors and angiotensin 2 receptor blockers, like we can see here. And also we will discuss about its mechanism later. And also the kidney can produce a hormone known as erythropoietin, and it is favorable for the erythropoiesis means the production of RBCs. Persons who lives in the mountain have higher number of RBCs for the guys, that in mountain areas or hilly areas there is the partial pressure of oxygen is very less. So in order to compensate, the person need to be increase his RBCs number. So a hormone which helps in this process is erythropoietin. And loop diuretics we can see here is used for relieving edema and associated with congestive heart failure, cirrhosis and renal disease, acute episodes of pulmonary edema and cerebral edema. It leads to high intracranial pressure. And most effective diuretic is furosemide, also known as Lasix, and torsemide, ethacrylic acid and bumetanide. And we can see its mechanism. So loop diuretic acts on the thick ascending loop of the nephron. So it interfere with the sodium chloride potassium channel co-transporter. So we can see here, this is the thick this is the cell where present in the thick ascending limb, and here is our lumen, and this is the blood. So we have a receptor, sorry, we have a channel, a transporter, that is potassium chloride and sodium potassium chloride channel. And loop diuretics can inhibit this channel. So sodium, potassium and chloride will uh, eliminate through urine. Along with sodium we can see water. And also if for a normal purpose, if there is no loop diuretics, what happens actually, the sodium and chloride get into blood, and also potassium get into the cell. Then there is an open channel, there is a open channel for potassium. So the potassium is get back to the lumen itself, so and creating a positive ion concentration in the lumen. And this it leads to calcium and magnesium also have a positive charge, so it is repelling. So the calcium and magnesium is trying to go away from this positive charge. So in between these cells we can say some leak channels, or gap junctions. So through these gap junctions, calcium 2 plus and magnesium 2 plus is going into the blood. So with the with the presence of loop diuretics, there is a calcium and magnesium loss will happen because there is no potassium is comes from inside the cell to outside, and it is loop diuretics is most effective, and it excrete the water as urine, and we can see enhanced sodium deliveries result in potassium loss in collecting duct. Example for loop diuretics: furosemide, ethacrylic acid, bumetanide, and toracemide. If you are going to the furosemide, a patient suffers from acute cardiopulmonary failure with pulmonary edema. So diuretic is prescribed in this case, furosemide, and triampherin is an example for potassium sparing drug. We will set spironolactone also potassium sparing drug, and triampherin is used for hypertension, and spironolactone is used as a adjective adjunctant diuretic, and hydrochlorothiazide is a thiazide diuretic. Acetazolamide is carbonic anhydrous diuretic. During narcosis, the patient developed a risk of cerebral edema. So in cerebral edema also most effective diuretic is furosemide, and triampherin I already said. Triampherin and amloride is a potassium sparing diuretics, and despite so okay, a 65-year-old female patient suffers from chronic renal insufficiency accompanied by evident edema caused by chronic glomerulonephritis. What diuretic should be administered for forced diuresis? So in renal case, the edema due to renal kidney failure or kidney disease, so we need to force the diuresis. The doctor administered drug for forced diuresis. The drug is most effective is furosemide. Other drugs are furosemide, bumetanide, etc. And hydrochlorothiazide is a thiazide like diuresis and diuretic. Hydrochlorothiazide is not thiazide like diuretic. It is the actually thiazide. Hydrochlorothiazide is the actually thiazide, and chlorthalidone is a thiazide like diuretic. Cyclomethoxide is also thiazide like a thiazide diuretic, and acetazolamide is a carbonic anhydrous diuretic. So if you are going to this only about loop diuretic, this much only. Loop diuretics used for relieve edema associated with the congestive heart failure, cirrhosis, renal disease, acute episodes of pulmonary edema, cerebral edema. It leads to high intracranial pressure. Most effective diuretic: furosemide, Lasix, toracemide, ethacrylic acid, bumetanide. Lasix is another name of furosemide. So next one is potassium sparing diuretic drugs. Reduce reduce the potassium loss. Other diuretics cannot influence in the potassium loss, so it can specifically reduce the potassium loss. Triampherin and amiloride are the examples, but it is for hypertension. It is treatment for hypertension. Triampherin and amiloride is treatment for hypertension. Also, it's a potassium sparing diuretic drug. Spironolactone and eplerenone is treatment for enhanced efficiency of other diuretics associated with Lennox cirrhosis also used in adrenal gland tumors that which are producing high amount of aldosterone. So adrenal gland tumors, we know tumors are uncontrolled proliferation of cells. So these cells produce high amount of aldosterone. So aldosterone leads to increase the uptake of sodium and increase the uptake of water. So also leads to the high amount of excretion of potassium. So potassium sparing diuretic helps in the reduce the potassium loss, and it is potassium, this spironolactone and eplerenone is competitive antagonist of aldosterone receptor, and it binds with the aldosterone receptor, and it reduce the potassium loss. I will tell about what is its actual mechanism. Can be used to treat edema due to congestive heart failure. It is also can be used to treat edema due to congestive heart failure, but it is an adjunctant, not we didn't prescribe potassium sparing diuretics drugs alone. We prescribe this drug as a part of a complex therapy for treatment of the edema or congestive heart failure, and other diuretics are also more effective, but we can use this potassium sparing diuretics as a helper. Okay, we can go to its mechanism. So potassium sparing diuretics acts on the collecting duct. So potassium sparing diuretics, these drugs will not excrete potassium. So we have, this is the lumen and this is blood. So between blood we can see cells and cells in the collecting tubule. So in lumen we have sodium. The sodium is reabsorbed in an activated way. So amiloride and triantherine block this channel, so there is no sodium uptake will happen. So sodium excrete, and along with sodium we have water, and also spironolactone and eplerenone is competitively inhibit competitively competitively uh, competitive inhibition of mineralocorticoid receptor. So it inhibits this channel. So Na plus and water will going along with what urine. So this is the mechanism. Despite the administration of cardiotonics and thiazide diuretic, this means the doctor is prescribing the drugs thiazide diuretic already and cardiotonics already the doctor prescribed, and a patient with chronic heart failure, okay, with persistent edemas and risk of ascites arose. Okay, the doctor is prescribed already the cardiotonics and a thiazide diuretic for a patient who have chronic heart failure, and he is suffering from edema and a high risk of ascites. And so what medication should be in order to facilitate, in order to enhance the diuretic effect of administered drugs, that is spironolactone. It reduces the potassium loss. Thiazide thiazide diuretic promote the potassium loss. So spironolactone will reduces the potassium loss, and thiazide diuretic is keep the calcium in the blood, and loop diuretic eliminate the calcium through urine. Furosemide is a loop diuretic. Other examples, furosemide and butaminide. bumetanate, furosemide, furosemide. Then amiloride is a potassium sparing, and it is used for hypertension, not for diuretic purposes. And other than triamterene, clopamide is thiazide like diuretic. Mannitol is a osmotic diuretic. A patient with chronic heart failure with edema has increased level of blood aldosterone. What diuretic would be most effective in this case? That is spironolactone. In high amount of aldosterone, we need to spironolactone is a competitive inhibitor of aldosterone, and it binds with the aldosterone receptor, so it reduces the potassium loss and promote the water and sodium loss, and it is a treatment for, or it's a adjuvant for edema in chronic heart failure. So triamterene is, we already said that, potassium sparing diuretic treatment for hypertension. Another example is amiloride and acetazolamide. Acetazolamide is a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and hydrochlorothiazide is thiazide diuretic, and furosemide is a loop diuretic. And other examples, furosemide, bumetanide, etc. Okay, which of the listed diuretics agents will not have diuretic effect on patient with Addison disease? We need to discuss this one. Okay, can I use this one? Okay, sure. Okay, Addison disease, what happened? This is collecting touch. Okay, collecting touch. Okay, just this is collecting touch. This is lumen. This is blood serum. Okay, in Addison disease, patient who have Addison disease, less aldosterone. So, what is the function of spironolactone? It competitively inhibit spironolactone competitively inhibit aldosterone. Which means that spironolactone only active, which means that I will take one, which means that spironolactone only at effective only at effective in the case of, or in the presence of, aldosterone. That is the asking. Which of the listed diuretic agents will not have diuretic effect on patient with Addison disease? That is spironolactone. Then if level of chlorine high in blood, hyperchloremic acidosis will happen. If level of chlorine low in blood, hypochloremic alkalosis will happen. Less than 95 millimole per liter is known as hypochloremic alkalosis. Which is a side effect of hydrochlorothiazide. And also ACE inhibitors used for hypertension, and lisinopril, captopril, enalapril are the examples. The adverse effect is renal toxicity. Angiotensin 2 receptor blockers, losartan, valsartan, and serlasin. And here angiotensin 2, angiotensinogen is converted into angiotensin 1, and this is promoted by the hormone renin, and angiotensin 1 converted into angiotensin 2 by the enzyme ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme from the lungs. So angiotensin inhibitors is inhibiting this process. So are examples ACE inhibitors: lisinopril, captopril, enalapril, and fosinopril. And in normally angiotensin 2 have receptor in the blood vessel, adrenal cortex, and pituitary gland. So in blood vessel it vasoconstriction happen also, which leads to increased blood pressure. And in adrenal cortex it stimulates aldosterone production. So aldosterone have increased blood volume. And vasopressin from posterior pituitary, it's a also water reuptaking from renal tubules, so it also increases the blood volume. So along with reuptaking of water, aldosterone also reuptake sodium also. So we have receptors present in the pituitary gland, adrenal gland, and blood vessel angiotensin 2 receptors. So if we are able to block these receptors, so we can decrease the blood pressure. So what drugs are helps in angiotensin 2 receptor blockage? That is losartan and serlasin examples. So this is a question: a patient with essential hypertension and high rate of blood renin. So there is a mechanism of angiotensin aldosterone mechanism. Which of the following antihypertensive drugs should be preferred? That is lisinopril. Propranolol is a beta blocker, beta non-selective beta blocker. So prazosin is alpha 1 blocker. Nifedipine is a calcium channel blocker. Diclothiazide is a thiazide diuretic. Aldosterone receptor blockers like spironolactone, eplerenone are not used as a diuretic in patients who have Addison disease. And digoxin along with the thiazide diuretic, in the one of the side effect of thiazide diuretic is hypokalemia, and this hypokalemia leads to increase the digoxin toxicity. It leads to serious cardiac arrhythmia So I will show you how it happens. So if we are taking, considering this is a cell, this is a heart cell, so we have a transporter, that is potassium sodium ATPase transporter, and we have another transporter, uh, sodium calcium exchanger. It's not co-transporter, it is an exchanger. Okay, and digoxin 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 is blocking this uh, ATPase, sodium potassium ATPase receptor. And what happened, there is no entry of potassium at all, which will lead to increase sodium concentration. So there is no availability of sodium outside the cell, so there is no exchanging of calcium will happen. It leads to increase intracellular calcium 2 plus, so it leads to muscle contraction. Okay, and it if thiazide, what happened, we introduce thiazide, by the way. Okay, it leads to much more decreasing calcium, much more decrease calcium amount concentration in extracellular space. So there is no availability of calcium in extracellular space, so which means that much concentration of Na plus inside the cell, which means that high amount of calcium 2 plus inside the cell. It leads to high force of contraction of myocardial cell. It leads to severe cardiac arrhythmia. That is the case. So digoxin along with thiazide diuretic, hypokalemia, digoxin toxicity increases, serious cardiac arrhythmia will occur. So amiodarone is a type 3 antiarrhythmic drug, block the potassium efflux and prevent the hyperpolarization. I will talk about this drug in cardiac chapter. So chlorthalidone is not a benzothiazide and is more appropriately called a thiazide-like diuretic. Panangin is a potassium magnesium aspartate used to restore potassium and magnesium in case of deficiency. And gout is the accumulation of uric acid in joints. Uric acid is the metabolic product of purines. Treatment for gout is allopurinol. It is inhibit the xanthine oxide, which is converts the xanthine or hypoxanthine to uric acid. Okay, we can tell him here. So adenine and guanine is metabolized, and the final step, xanthine is converted to uric acid. So the allopurinol is a drug which can inhibit this xanthine oxide, so this reaction is not going to happen. So there is no uric acid at all. This is the reaction. Okay, that is how allopurinol is going to be work. Then this is osmotic diuretic is going to be work. Osmotic diuretic, example mannitol and urea. So what I am going to say in that, mannitol is administered intravenously, so it has quick action, and mannitol is like solute, so it can pass through renal proximal tubular cell and get into the lumen, and high amount of mannitol we can see here. So water is coming. Initially water have in blood, high amount of water in the blood. So when lumen have high solutes, the water high concentration, water have high concentration here. So what is osmosis? Is the transfer of water from high concentration to low concentration. Water is going to balance the solute concentration, solute in the lumen. So water is come to here. So but in this time there is no sodium is coming along with water, because there is a solute present in the lumen, so it causes hypernatremia risk. And osmotic diuretic are also is used for reducing the amount of water in the body and reduced intracellular volume. And carbonic anhydrase is acts on proximal convoluted tubule. What happens? Carbonic anhydrase is the enzyme works which can convert the carbonic acid into water and carbon dioxide. This carbonic acid cannot enter into, it cannot normally it can't enter into interstitial blood by just passing. Before that, it needs to break down into water and carbon dioxide. The enzyme which helps in this conversion is carbonic anhydrase. So the drugs which can block the carbonic anhydrate is known as carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, for example acetazolamide. So it is excreted through urine as bicarbonate ion. So which means basically it is a water, so it is decrease the amount of water. Along with bicarbonate there is a chlorine also present, sodium also present, and acetazolamide is a group of sulfonamide. It's a structure similar to sulfonamide, not group, it's the structure is similar to sulfonamide. And thiazide diuretics. Thiazide diuretics, we can see it acts on the distal tubule. So this is the lumen side and this is the blood side. Between we can see the cell is lining, and in the near to the lumen there is some transporter. This transporter is known as sodium chloride transporter. Okay, thiazide diuretic is block these channels, all these channels, so there is no entry of sodium and chloride into the blood. So along with sodium chloride is going to urine, along with the sodium we can see water also excreting. Thiazide diuretics also have an effect in the inhibition of carbonic anhydrase. The use of the thiazide diuretic in edema, we can use in edema, relieve the edema, then hypertension, management of hypercalciuria, because it can keep the calcium in the blood. There is no loss of calcium when we use thiazide diuretic, but there is a loss of calcium when we use loop diuretic as an example. That examples for diuretic loop diuretics are furosemide, furosemide, and bumetanide, etc. Benzothiazide is a benzothiazide under the class. The structure similar to benzothiazide is hydrochlorothiazide. Hydrochlorothiazide have similar structure of benzothiazide. Other other drugs are thiazide like drugs, for example clopidogrel and indapamidamine. Indapamidamine is only used in hypertension disease, and in thiazide diuretics is not going to excrete calcium, so it is can be used as a management for hypercalciuria. And thiazide, when we are going with the discussion with the thiazide, okay, a hypertensive patient keeping to salt-free diet and taking antihypertensive drugs together with the hydrochlorothiazide is a thiazide diuretic for a long time, and this is resulted in electrolyte imbalance. So what disorder of the internal environment can happen? Hydrochlorothiazide is eliminate chlorine, so there is hypochloremia, less amount of chlorine in the blood, and it cause alkalosis. So hypochloremic alkalosis. A patient takes digoxin for cardiac insufficiency. What diuretic may increase digoxin toxicity due to intensified excretion of potassium ions? That is thiazide diuretic or hydrochlorothiazide. Okay, we are going to discuss the loop diuretics. Loop diuretics acts on the thick ascending loop of Henle, and we have here is the blood and here is the lumen. Between this we can see thick ascending limb cell. So there is a transporter. The transporter name is sodium potassium chloride co-transporter. So what happened here? Normally sodium comes enter into cell and chlorine is also absorbed. Chlorine also absorb, sodium also absorb, but potassium won't, because when potassium comes inside the cell, it is go back to its lumen first, then it creates a positive polarity near the membrane in the lumen side. So calcium 2 plus and magnesium 2 plus are also heavy, highly positive charges. So it goes move away from these positive charges. So there is a leak in channels where we can, or gap junctions where we can present between these cells. So it is move fastly to the bloodstream. Okay, when loop diuretic is used, this channel will be blocked. So sodium, potassium, chloride along with water is going to be excreted. So if there is no positivity, the calcium 2 plus and magnesium 2 plus not going to inside, because there is a huge pathway here. So calcium and magnesium is going to be loss. Increased calcium 2 plus loss. Hypokalemic metabolic alkalosis will occur because because potassium is decreased in this case. Loss of sodium and water. So sodium can be reuptake in the collecting tubule, and potassium can again decreased by this mechanism, enhancement mechanism. And the drugs furosemide, ethacrylic acid, bumetanide, toracemide, used in edema with heart disease, kidney disease, and brain increase in brain intracranial pressure. Edema due to increased intracranial pressure, and heart disease, chronic heart failure, or congestive heart failure, then renal failure, renal insufficiency. In these cases, edema can be occur. So we can use this drugs: furosemide, ethacrylic acid, bumetanide, toracemide. So patients suffer from acute cardiopulmonary failure And pulmonary edema, what diuretic prescribed in this given case? Furosemide. Narcosis, risk of cerebral edema, what drug? Furosemide. So friends, I think this video is helpful for you, and if you have a doubt you can ask me and in the comment section, or we will come with another class. Okay, bye friends. If you like this video, please make a thumbs up and share to your friends, and click on the bell icon for our recent updates. Thank you friends, bye.